Good morning, everybody. Yeah, good morning. Neil is going to go ring the bell for us. Yeah. Thank you, Neil. Okay. Welcome to the River Falls Unitarian Universalist Society House. And you can see what our guiding principles are. This is the plan. This is how we're going to run show running today. And as our chalice lighting, we're going to have Thomas R. Smith read this prayer poem that he wrote that's in his book, Medicine Year.
Yeah? Oh, okay, good. This was written January 5th, 2020. And you'll see how it fits in later on. Prayer. I need patience to hope, so give me patience. Let me trust as I did once in time the healer. Let me rest in the assurance of things greater than the seen, the cupped hand holding us all. Let me be easy with the moment and not stand in its way like a tree fallen across a stream. Don't let despair eclipse my faithfulness. Let me not resist the winter, remembering that every winter is followed by a spring. Let the green root rest and take strength in the winter earth until the sun lifts it. Meanwhile, let me be well with the silence. Let me be brave as I was when I had nothing to lose but myself.
Thank you, Thomas. That's so beautiful. Okay, we need the chalice lit, and our regular chalice lighter's not here, but we have a great pinch hitter in Tina. Boy, Callan does it so fast. I know.
No pressure. I know.
Thank you. Okay, it's time to greet one another. Okay, folks. Okay, that was the bell. It's good to see everybody having a good time chatting. Very encouraging. Okay, joys and concerns. We all come here with things we're happy about, especially this season. Things we're happy about, things that we're concerned about. And so what we do is we take a stone and we say what we're either happy or concerned about and drop it in the water. I'll start. I'm concerned about the presence of ice. I'm concerned about the presence of ice in our communities. I've seen some of the people that are just trying to make it here, trying to quietly and humbly and peacefully add to the good in our community, and that they have to be afraid is really distressing to me.
Well, this past year, Thomas and I have both lost younger brothers. Thomas's brother Terry, my brother Bob, and we're also thinking, it's a sorrow this time of year, and really thinking about their partners, the first Christmas without their partners. So thinking about Dixie and Renee.
I'd like to echo Maureen's concern about the presence of ice and that our friends have to live in such fear. My joy is that a year ago, our 2-year-old grandson had cancer, and he doesn't anymore. It's been eliminated, so hooray.
Good morning. I'm going to read something on behalf of someone. It's a concern, someone who needs to and wishes to remain anonymous. So, my concern today is that ICE is abducting people from Baldwin and Woodville. An employee here in River Falls that worked at Mariachi Loco has been deported. U.S. citizens have been abducted. Elected officials, regardless of race, have been targeted if they dare object to illegal acts. There are threats by the administration to strip citizenship of those they deem to be a threat to their power. We have a choice. We can try to protect ourselves with silence. Many in Nazi Germany tried to stay silent. It did not go well for them. Many realized too late that their silence made it possible for democratically elected figures to completely disassemble their government. Those who did nothing were complicit in their own demise. Or we can peacefully rebel in 2 ways. One is very public and very vocal. The other is quiet, behind the scenes. Quietly, we can actively support our community by providing food, security, transportation to and from work or school to those being targeted. We can, if asked, serve as guardians in the event that parents are deported. Those not directly involved with at-risk members of the community, please be our voice. Call your representatives, show up to rallies, write letters to the editor, talk to your neighbors. The bullies that call themselves leaders are few, and we are many. They are showing their weakness very publicly. Who will rescue us? We will. When is the time to act? Now. For information on staying safe, go to, and there's a website here, I'll post it. I'll post this after the service on the bulletin board so you can copy it on the website if you would like to. There are instructions and guidance there on how you can help and how you can get involved. For how to get involved, leave your name and contact information with me, and I will be sure to get it to the person who wishes to remain anonymous.
I snuck up behind you. So, in the essence of awe, that's part of the word awesome. So, I've been trying to reach towards that in some of these challenging times. And I can just want to share that on Tuesday. We had my whole family there at our house, and it was 8 hours of awesome awe, laughter and fun and good times, and kind of let some of the weight on our shoulders lift, and kind of let that go by for that day. So it was a wonderful day.
Thanks, Steve. Okay. We are very lucky today to have Krista Spieler come and speak with us about her experience with a health crisis in her family, in herself. And Krista is a fiber artist and a great person and a friend to the UU. And I like to think she's my friend, and how lucky we are that she'll come and speak with us.
Now I get to look at all these friendly faces here. Maureen, thanks for offering this opportunity for me to talk, and it feels like a really good time to do that. It was on March, where'd that come from? December 24th that I had my stroke 6 years ago, so it was this time of year. It's a good time for reflection. Thanks for this offer. I was diagnosed with a hemorrhagic stroke, and Thomas, in his alarm that I wasn't getting up in the morning, I was supposed to go to work, and I was just totally lethargic and no way am I getting up. Thomas got me to the emergency room, and then I was sent to United Hospital. And I stayed there at United and then at their adjacent Courage Kenny rehab for 6 weeks, and then I was back here in River Falls at Kinnick Long-Term Care for 6 weeks. So I was away from home for 3 months. I'm really thankful that Thomas was there and rose to the occasion, and something he probably didn't expect he'd ever have to do. When I was in the hospital, very soon after that, Thomas was able to contact my sister Sandy in Minneapolis, and those two were really my team when I was in the hospital and in rehab. They made sure that one or the other of them were there every day with me. I really feel like a lot of the healing that I experienced was really supported by community, my community that surrounds me. And they helped to make that happen. The other person who was there a lot was Amy DeLong. I was a member at that time of the United Methodist Church here in River Falls, and she came so often. She was part of the support team also. When I look back at what went on during that time, there's several things that stand out for me, and one is the importance of asking for help. And of course, I wasn't asking for help. I was early on, I was sleeping, and which probably my dear brain needed more than anything else. So Thomas and my sister Sandy were ones who asked for help. Early on, at one point, I was really slow and lethargic with eating, with them feeding me, the staff feeding me, and they just didn't have the time that it was taking to feed me. They started talking about putting a tube in my stomach for feeding me, and Thomas and Sandy both felt like, no, we don't want to have that happen. And they knew from their own experience that if they took the time with me, I ate. It just needed to have time. So they put out word to the community for help with feeding me, and a lot of people signed up. So I had a lot of visitors during that time and helping with eating. It was great. So asking for help really became part of the process. Early on, one of the doctors at the hospital, Thomas wrote down her name. Her name is Dr. Margarita McGuire. And she told my sister that people who have prayer chains being done for them statistically are shown to heal faster. And around that same time, Kathy Allen, I'm sure a lot of you know her, she's not living here anymore, she's out west. Kathy Allen organized a prayer circle at the United Methodist Church. And about 50 people were there apparently, and Richard had his Tibetan bowl that he brought with him to the prayer time. And I think that was a time that Thomas also announced the need for help with feeding me. The staff at the United Hospital and at Courage Kenny were awesome. They were so helpful, so supportive, so friendly, a lot of humor and listening really carefully. I'm so thankful for all that they were able to do there. Music was helpful during this time, and they learned from Thomas early on that music was a big part of our lives, that we enjoyed the Beatles, and so people would thread that into their treatment of me. Physical therapy started singing some Beatles songs as we'd do our work together. They encouraged Thomas to bring his guitar in and play for me, and we would sing together. Early on, I was able to sing. Our brains are like that. Our brains really respond to music. Another thing that was a joy and helpful was doing some movement and dance. There was the physical therapist brought in a music therapist on occasion and played some music, and we had a ball that we would push back and forth with each other. And that was just so fun, really great to have that movement and along with the music going on. I remember a milestone when I finally was able to stand. It's because early on I could not stand. They had the lift that helped me to the bathroom. I think I had a name for it, the throne carrier or something like that, I don't know. And I totally needed help with getting dressed, and occupational therapy was helping to teach me how to dress myself again. when I was finally able to stand, I remember my memory of doing Qigong led by Colleen Gray came back to me, and Colleen always concludes her Qigong leading the Qigong with holding silence, having hands out, and saying bamboo in the wind. And I just, standing, had the sense of bamboo in the wind. There's some movement and some strength and steadiness with bamboo in the wind. So I thank Colleen Gray for that lesson there. I had to learn how to be persistent and to be patient. Every day, it was like going to work, all the therapies. Every day there was physical therapy, there was occupational therapy, there was speech therapy, and it was like going to work, no break from that. But through that process, eventually I was able to walk again, and that felt like such a remarkable moment when I was able to walk again, and finally able to start to climb steps a little bit. And I remember when that happened, just reminding myself that all these things take time, and it's like a seed just lying dormant in the soil for so long, and then sprouting starts to happen. And that's how this process was, taking time. So after 6 weeks in rehab there in St. Paul and the hospital in St. Paul, I was able to come back to River Falls, and I was at Kinnick Long-Term Care for 6 weeks after that. I was so glad to be back there. I used to work there. I worked a lot in long-term care, in recreation, and Kinnick was one of the places I'd worked. So I knew people there, and I really liked the physical therapist lead there. We were able to do some good bantering with each other. I pushed against him sometimes. It was good to be back. And having been staff there, it was really interesting to be there as a resident. And I think that was a somewhat humbling process for me. I know when I'd worked in long-term care and doing charting and everything, seeing people's diagnoses, seeing the diagnosis of stroke, CVA, cerebral vascular accident, I think that is. And I just thought, that's never going to happen to me. I felt really beyond it. And so this was a humbling experience to have it happen to me. It can, well, yeah. Things happen that we don't expect. But I'm really thankful for that lesson. So it was good to be back at Kinnick. Sometimes when I was there, they were so helpful. I remember one day I really missed having Thomas and my traditional Sunday breakfast where we had poached eggs and made good black tea, and they said, we can do that here. So they set it up that I was able to make breakfast for Thomas and me in the therapy room. So they were really helpful. Then there was Valentine's Day at Kinnick, and they had a special dinner for all the residents who had partners, and we were in a separate room, and they gave us a special meal, and it was just fun and quirky to be there with all the old folks having having a Valentine's dinner together. Yeah. So the last 2 weeks I was at Kinnick, COVID happened. And one of the downsides of COVID was that Thomas could no longer come and visit me. We were sheltering in place. We had to stay in our rooms all the time, and that was really hard. By that point, I was up and walking using a cane, and I just made sure to walk around my room a lot just to keep getting that exercise. For a while, Thomas would come around to my window and talk to me at the window, and then I don't know why, but they said people shouldn't do that, so that was cut off. I was really worried that now that it was COVID, they weren't going to let me go home. But when I look back on it, I'm sure they were relieved when people were discharged. Discharging to home is a safer situation. So I'm going to back up a little bit. But before COVID started, they were getting ready for my being discharged, and they wanted to make sure that my home was ready for me to come back to it with having some supports for me. And so on a Saturday, I think it was, a batch of friends, including Ed, yay Ed, hi Ed, sitting in the back there, Ed Krause, and the occupational therapist from Kinnick came to the house and worked on making the house ready for me to come home. That included putting some handrails up. Thank you, Ed, for that. I use them still. It's a rail by our back door, by our stairway, one in the bathroom. Thank you. And doing other things to make sure that the house was ready for me to come home. Our neighbors loaned us a single bed because I wasn't able to climb the stairs to our bedroom yet. Lots of help with that. So finally I came back home. And once I was home, the rehab continued. I had home care come and help me out. A physical therapist came and an occupational therapist came and worked with me. So I can really tell how, although I was back home, it took time. The healing process continued to take time. One of the healing moments, one of the delights of my being back home is that a group of women here in River Falls, I think it's safe to say it was led by Kathy Allen, is that right? There's a couple of the women back here, Marcia and Sherry, are here. They paid a visit to my house. It was during COVID, and they were trying to connect people during this time that it was really hard to connect. And they called themselves, let's see, I wrote it down here. I'm sorry. Oh yes, the 7th Street Soul Connections. And they came with a car, and they started singing, and they gave me a phone call ahead of time announcing that they were arriving. They were singing Beatles songs. They sang Twist and Shout, I Want to Hold Your Hand, Come Together Right Now. And they were dancing. They were dancing in the street. It was just an ecstatic moment. I'm just so thankful for that, and thankful for them for doing that. And I think that Kathy is watching out west to this going on right now. So thank you, Kathy. It was great. So a couple of landmarks, helpful points in my home rehab were when I was finally able to climb the steps. For some reason in my mind it is that was around Easter that I was able to do that. That was a big step to be able to do that. And also gradually I was able to start walking outdoors using a cane. And then someday I didn't need the cane anymore. Qigong has continued to be part of my healing. Thomas and I do it every day together, for each of us for our healing. Really thankful for the Qigong. And I think that it was a challenging time, and still it's almost like a time of going underground, and things come out of it that hopefully can be blessings in a way. I think one thing for me during that time is that it increased my gratitude for my husband Thomas. He just he rose to the occasion, and who knew, you know? It's like my dreaming poet husband rose to the occasion, was there to help me, and then consistently was there almost every day. Likewise, my sister Sandy, she was there so much, and I feel like it really helped our relationship. I feel more gratitude for Sandy as a result of that. Really thankful for that. It also gave me more humidity. Wrong time of year for that. So it gave me more humility that I also could have a stroke. So I'm thankful for that. I've made connections with a couple people just in brief conversations who've also had strokes. It's a commonality that we share. I'm going to wrap up here soon. I just am finishing up with thinking about what some of the medicine is of that time for me. The treatment. One is to slow down. The healing process was definitely one of slowing down. And one is a reminder to persist. Doesn't all come right away. Persist. Likewise, to have patience. Like the seed in the ground, it will sprout. Also, to ask for help, which is really hard sometimes. And another one is to keep moving. One of my physical therapists said, motion is lotion, and maybe some of you have heard that. But keep moving. Moving, dancing. So thanks you all for being here, and I'm just looking at a bunch of warm faces, and I'm mighty grateful that you're here today. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, that's a good idea. Anyone have any questions? Yes.
Krista, I'm Catherine Dawkins, and I hope really hear me. It's what it says. Oh, okay.
Yes, it's also being recorded, so some people will be listening, watching it later. We got 16 people at home. Really? Whoa. Hi, y'all. I know there's, what?
Hello? Does that work?
Okay, now I'm nervous. But I've known you for a long
Yes,
time,
yes.
Krista,
Yes.
and your various roles, and it's interesting that you worked at Kinnick long-term. I also did for a little bit when I was a plant lady in one of my
I
incarnations.
remember that.
Do you?
I think that's
Yeah.
where I first met you, when you
I-
were a plant lady.
Yeah, and I did a little plant therapy there.
Yeah,
They were
yes.
implementing some holistic treatments, and I actually became a nurse working in transitional care at the U. And I have to say, just community support, and we're talking about refugees. As you say, it's hard to ask for help because we, of the predominant society that we are white, okay? That we're got that independent, that we can do it ourselves and don't need other people. To see when I worked, the other cultures that would come, and just one example, working on the West Bank, the Somali community, there would never be a patient alone in their room. They would come and stay, and there'd be crowds of people bringing food. And we have so much to learn about being community and helping one another. And you know, the Latino communities and just, I'm just so pleased of your remarkable recovery. I think a lot of people were concerned, and I'm just praises be to your spirit, your life force. You know, many people do not recover as well. And so you have something that you've learned, and we can learn from you. So thank you.
Thank you. Did I say, I can't remember what all I said, but that Thomas, the medical staff reassured Thomas that the type of stroke I had, a cerebral hemorrhage, that people did tend to recover from. That must have helped, that must have been reassuring, Thomas.
Yeah, it was hard to believe at one point, but
Mm-hmm.
it was reassuring.
I'll say one other thing too, just when I was doing speech therapy, some of the exercises they had me do, like you have $5 and you need to get a menu, how much are things going to cost, figure out how much you can spend. And I struggled with it, and I said, you know, this is making me feel really stupid. And the speech therapist reassured me. She said, you know, this is all helping your brain to realign. Your brain's been scrambled, and this all helps to realign your brain. Yeah. Well, it was when I was in St. Paul still, I would guess it was about a month. Do you think, I'm looking at Thomas too, because he was around about a month. It sounds like I was able to walk some really early after the stroke, but then I went backwards. And yeah, they had taken me up to rehab, Courage Kenny Rehab. I was able to walk, but then I slipped back and they took me back to intensive care. And then it took a while till I could again walk.
I'm interested in the psychology, and typically in events like this, people go through the stages of remorse: denial, anger, depression, acceptance, stuff like that. So I'm just curious if you could be willing to share a little bit of what you went through with that.
I don't think I went through stages in that kind of a way, but I think I had some really wacky conceptions of things that were I think that were very internal and that did not correspond with what was going on externally. I think there was also a time, and I can't explain this, but I thought I was dying. And I very urgently told the nurse that I needed to get ready to die. And she was really concerned. Of course, Thomas was really concerned. I had felt like a dream, imagining myself choosing to die, but then that passed. But yeah, there were things, my brain was really traveling around, yeah.
Yeah, I want to add to that. Early on in the stroke, there was something very childish about Krista for a while. Almost kind of a spitefulness, not answering questions and making faces and saying absurd things. But it seemed like a kind of a regression stage. But I just wanted to comment on that last piece. Yeah, I was shocked to find Krista in a very despondent mood one day and talking about being in hospice. And I asked her about that, and she told me she thought she needed to go into hospice now. I said, no, no, you don't. No, you really don't. That was kind of heartbreaking.
This is a whole different angle, but with what's happening now with the Affordable Care Act and insurance, and I'm thinking about my own, future and medical needs. How was that sorting all of that care out afterwards from a logistical? Was it complex? The insurance and on and on. What was that process like?
Well, one thing I'm really thankful for is that Thomas and I had gotten on supplemental insurance because we're on Medicare, and thank goodness we'd done that, and we really we came out of it without medical expenses. The other part of that is that some people were really generous with donations to us, and some of that was through friends. Some of that was through the United Methodist Church that I was a member of. So, phew, that was fortunate. Yeah.
Anyone else?
Thank you for sharing all of this. I was firsthand witness to someone with a catastrophic event, and one thing is it was an accident. So they said that he wouldn't remember all the worst of it, the pain, and he didn't. He still doesn't. But when there are subsequent events with it, he forgets those right away too. But the people around him do not.
Yeah.
Did you also, now you've been recounting it as if you recall everything there, but is that with the help of others or?
Oh, yes. Thomas kept notes during the time, and so I was asking him some questions as I was getting ready for this, because a lot of it for a long time I did not remember. Yeah.
I wonder if that's just sort of nature's way of helping you tolerate those things. Just a thought.
Yeah, it could be, and I know that our bodies and our brains need rest, and I'm sure that's part of when the brain is knitting herself back together. Yeah. Well, Maureen, thanks for this opportunity.
Oh, you're welcome.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks.
I need the book. One of the things I remember so strongly about that time is how worried we all were. And Richard and I were at something at the Methodist Church. And at one point, Thomas said to me so earnestly and sincerely, and as if he thought I could change it, he said, all the light has gone out of our house. And I thought, I'm so glad it came back. And this is a poem from Thomas's book that he wrote about that year, called Krista's Feet. Imagine your husband or wife or loved one writing about your feet so lovingly. Krista's Feet. You will put on shoes again. You will bend to tie the laces. You will stand once more of your own volition on those self-shod feet. Everything that feet do, your feet will do again. You will walk beside our beloved Kinnickinnick in the morning. In winter, your feet will test cautiously the ice. Swelling will go down, weakness subside, muscle tone return. The light seed inside each soul that is the spark of dance will grow again with the springtime. You will step lightly, lightheartedly to music. Earth will again play the happy red carpet to your star stride. Okay, next week I'll be talking about, I know I started working on it. Sounds like kind of a depressing thing, animal death and into life, but it is something that has been fascinating me for a while. And then we will have, as poetry group that day, pledge campaign wrap up. Then Tara Greiman, who's here today, is going to be talking about farming, food, and spirit. That's going to be great. And it's book club and administrative committee. Sarah O'Neill, who I don't know.
I could say a few words.
Sure.
Sarah is the co-founder of the 3.5 project in St. Croix County. She's going to be talking about how that project started. I'll leave it a surprise of what exactly it is. And the theme for the month of January is resistance. And she will be talking about the role of the 3.5 project in building community resistance and also her own personal journey. So it'll be resistance then and now. Back to Martin Luther King, it's the day before Martin Luther King Day, and then her personal journey in the resistance movement, I'll say, and then the 3.5 project. And then the last Sunday in January, continuing on the resistance theme, I'll be sharing the story of Mildred Fish Harnack. And don't Google her ahead of time. She's a famous Wisconsinite who played a major role in resistance in the Nazi regime. We'll be talking about her life path and what we can learn from it.
Thank you. Okay, and we have a little basket where you can leave any contributions you want to make, but we appreciate your contribution that you made today by coming and being part of our congregation. Oh, and then there's banana bread in the kitchen that.
Lots of other stuff, thanks to Nancy.
Oh yeah,
A lot of treats in it.
I saw it really filled up with treats. So enjoy those, because we haven't had enough yet this season. Okay, closing words. Let's gather and hold hands.
Go out into the world in peace. Have courage. Question all things. Hold on to what is good. Return to no person evil for evil. Strengthen the faint-hearted. Support the weak. Help the suffering. Honor all.